Golden Black Live. Craig Terrell, we sent him on the road to Lebanon. We greatly appreciated him being on. If you missed that segment, we'll obviously have a replay on tonight that you can watch after the men's basketball game. Boilermakers take on North Carolina A&T, season opener, which is always kind of a special event just because it's starting a season with so much excitement among Purdue fans, and you've been watching that as much as anybody on the face of the earth. This is going to be, at least from a hype standpoint, there's a lot of hype coming into this year.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to make mention of, we were talking about the Darrell Hazel talk earlier, the timing of the announcement last night that he'll be returning, and it's a little bit unfortunate timing for Purdue because here's this basketball season that people have been talking about for months now. One of the most anticipated seasons I think I've ever been around. And what's the court of public opinion been talking about for the last 12 hours, last 15, 16 hours has been football. So it's kind of overshadowed the start of basketball season a little bit, but this is obviously a season that everyone's very much looking forward to. Purdue's got a chance to be very good. It starts tonight with North Carolina A&T and what is essentially the first game of the Hall of Fame Tip-Off Classic, the two on-campus games for that. So I wouldn't anticipate Purdue having much trouble with North Carolina A&T tonight, but obviously they're much bigger, much more important, much more challenging games to come.
Yeah, you look at this schedule, and it is a flurry of games. I mean, if you think about, you got a game tonight, you got Vermont, who's a program that's been very, very decent. Incarnate Ward next week, and then you head out. What?
Bend, Connecticut, I believe.
And then you go to Connecticut and play Old Dominion on Saturday and potentially Florida on Sunday.
St. Joseph, Florida.
Yeah, and it's a lot of games in a short period of time for Purdue. So we're going to start to. When is that first maybe time where you start to make an evaluation of what we're seeing? Is it after that trip to Connecticut, do you think? I mean, how do you view this start of this schedule?
I think Old Dominion is somebody on the schedule that people aren't really talking about, but they
Dangerous
were very
game.
good last year. They bring back everybody. I think that's a really good basketball team that just doesn't have the name recognition. Other than that, it depends who they get in the second game in Connecticut, but that'll be a good opponent.
Florida.
St. Joseph, Florida.
Yeah.
But then also Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt can
December
really score, and I think that's going to be a really interesting game for Purdue, just because Vanderbilt's got all these shooters. They have a big guy who's as good as the guys Purdue has in Damian Jones.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a difficult matchup for Purdue because they're going to spread Purdue's size all over the floor and surround them with shooters. So that's going to be strength on strength to an extent. So we're going to see how Purdue manages one of those matchups. We talk a lot about matchups, how Purdue's really big, and they're going to be vulnerable against teams that can really spread them out and can really be athletic and quick or really shoot. And I think Vanderbilt is going to be a really good test in that sense.
And it was a good test last year, as Purdue fans know. Vandy really spanked Purdue. It's a Vanderbilt team that lost a lot of games. Kevin Stallings' team beat Purdue pretty handily down at Memorial Auditorium, I believe it's called, at Vanderbilt. This is a team too that, for those of us who watched the exhibition game, fun to watch in terms of effort. You're not seeing any issues there. We won't see that, I don't think, this year. And yet, there's still a lot of, as in any new season, a lot of pieces where you're going to have to figure out just how it's all going to fit. Point guard being one. What are you seeing now? I mean, both P.J. Thompson and certainly Johnny Hill are going to get their share of minutes, but any determination from your opinion at this point?
I think that at point guard, P.J. Thompson and Johnny Hill have been both solid. I think if you took them and made them into one player, you'd have the ideal point guard. But that's obviously biologically impossible.
Yeah.
But I think both do very good things for Purdue that Purdue can really put to use. P.J. Thompson's a better shooter. I think he's going to be a much better defensive player. I think he's going to be more comfortable, more confident. You saw a stretch, and I know it was only an exhibition game, but you saw a stretch in that game where P.J. Thompson looked like a true lead guard. Like he was controlling the game. He was handing out assists. He was playing with a little bit of flair, sauce, if you will.
Yeah.
Johnny
sauce.
Hill, at the same time, his length really helps Purdue too, because defensively more than anything, that can make him a real pest. He's the quickest guy Purdue has on a team that is quickness deficient. They don't have enough perimeter quickness. That's something that's going to catch up to them at some point against somebody. Whether that's going to happen early in the season, I don't know. But Johnny Hill is their best perimeter quickness guy at both ends of the floor, defensively and offensively. You saw that play in the exhibition game where I think Northwestern Ohio was in zone. Johnny Hill broke his guy down off the dribble, pulled up in the middle of their zone for a nice little runner. I think Purdue needs that kind of intermediary scoring, not only for an added scoring element, but also to accentuate its offensive rebounding strength. If Purdue shoots 53s a game, it's not going to get many offensive rebounds. And its strength is in its offensive rebounds. So the more Purdue can get intermediary offense, I think that can really help Purdue, whether directly or indirectly.
Any news? And we talked off air about A.J. Hammonds. We still don't know what his status is, whether he's going to play tonight.
Don't know. They're not going to tell us in advance. They're not going to tell us in advance. But my working assumption, and I could be entirely wrong, is he'll play tonight. But I don't know that for a fact. I just assume that this was something that they just want to nip in the bud early and are going to have out of the way, and now that the season's here, he'll play. But I don't know. I really don't know. If Matt Painter knew on Wednesday, whatever day it was, Tuesday, whatever, he wasn't going to tell us that. So I wouldn't anticipate any sort of announcement before the game he's going to play. He's either going to just play or not play.
Isaac Haas certainly got off to a good start, 18 points in the first game, but that front line with Haas and certainly Swanigan and Vince Edwards, this is a very formidable group that all guys, can't say that Swanigan's gotten better, or we don't have a lot to compare it to. We know he's very good, but Haas and Edwards have certainly made strides in their game.
Yeah, I think they're both much better players. Vince Edwards is a much better player than he was last year, and he was really good last year. I don't think he got credit for the type of season he had last year. I thought he was really good. Should have been on the All-Big Ten freshman team. I think it was a coin flip between him and Jayshawn Tate from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Tate got it. But I think Vince Edwards is a much different and a much better player. I think he's your odds-on bet right now to lead Purdue in scoring. He's got to play with more urgency right out of the bat. He's got to maybe assert himself a little bit more sometimes as a scorer. But I think he's going to be really good. He's going to give Purdue a dimension it doesn't have because he can do some things off the dribble now. It's going to be harder for him to score on threes than it was on fours because his matchup was so much more exploitable against slower, bigger players.
Yeah.
Now against threes, he's getting guarded by quicker, more athletic guys, but he's really good. I mean, he's much more athletic. He's much quicker. He's very creative. He's very savvy. He's a great passer. He's really improved his jump shot. I think you're going to see a really big year from him. Isaac Haas, I think he's in much better shape than he was a year ago.
Yeah.
He's getting off the floor better, which is going to allow him to be more of a rim protector. Right now, A.J. Hammonds, for all the size Purdue has, A.J. Hammonds is its only real rim protector. And that's not an ideal situation. Right now, you'd like to have more than one of them, but down the line, too, when A.J. Hammonds is gone, you'd like to have somebody to fill that defensive void. I think Isaac Haas is positioning himself to do that. I think he's been simpler with the ball. You saw in the exhibition game, and yes, it was only an exhibition game, but he was getting the ball, he was being decisive, he was going right up with it. And that's what got him in trouble last year with turnovers. I think he's going to be a much better free throw shooter. I've covered two scrimmages and an exhibition game now in Mackey Arena, and I've not seen him miss a free throw yet. I think in that time, he was 4 of 4 in the exhibition. I think he was 3 of 3 or something in the two scrimmages. I know he was 2 of 5 against Dayton. I know that the wrist, he's had a little wrist injury that was bothering him, but he says he's past that now, and he just looks much better and much more consistent in his form, much more comfortable shooting free throws. And if he can get up over 60%, that's a huge weapon for Purdue. Because when you look at all the points they left on the floor last year with missed free throws in general, but also blown 1-and-1s early in the season, garbage points are going to be big for Purdue. Offensive rebounds, non-shooting fouls, and the free throws that come with them. If Purdue's big men shoot free throws much better, you're looking at another 8 to 10 points a game potentially.
Yeah. Number 50 is good. He's
good.
A very fine player, and Caleb Swanigan already. I mean, the things that impressed me, and I've watched him about a 50th as much as Brian has. Every play, every time down the court, he runs the court extremely well, runs it hard. He gets his hands on every ball, even if he doesn't get a rebound. He seems to have a way to get there. What's impressed you most about Caleb Swanigan to date?
Well, number one thing, and it's not his ability, and he's a McDonald's All-American. The number one thing is his preparedness.
Yeah.
The amount of time he puts in, it's become a running joke. If you go into empty Mackey Arena and Caleb Swanigan's not there, you're surprised, because that's what he does. He sleeps in the locker room some nights, so he's first there in the morning. Like people said, he acts like a professional athlete. He's been around professional athletes. He's been around people who know professional athletes. He knows how to be a professional athlete. Obviously, he's not right now, but he will be one day. But he's handling himself like he is right now. You will not find a more dedicated, driven player, not just freshman, player, period. And I mean, he's an intelligent player. He's a conscientious player. He's got a great sense for the game, and he's got unbelievable talent. And that's an unbelievable combination. He's not been phased at all from what I've seen by college basketball. His big challenge is going to be defensive matchups and just on offense, just what I said about Isaac Haas. Just don't make the extra move. You don't need it anymore. You just go up with the ball when you have the shot. And if he does that, he's going to score a lot of points and he's going to shoot a lot of free throws. And he's a game changer for Purdue on the boards. He is a double-digit potential rebounder, maybe now.
And we already saw that in game one, so he's got
Yes.
that ability. All right, well, we'll look forward to. We're going to be talking a lot of basketball over the next several months. We'll also next week we will have Todd Foster, and Todd Foster was a part of the Purdue's three-peat team and a big part of that as well, but also works in the athletic department. We'll look forward to talking to Todd, among others, next week as we prepare also for Purdue-Iowa football. A lot more to head. Obviously, we've got some interesting dynamics with Purdue football as well that we'll be hitting on over the next few months. So I want to thank our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn and State Farm agent Trent Johnson, John Basham and the good folks at Basham Rental, of course, Triple X on the hill, but on the level of Purdue tradition since 1929. And, of course, camera. And also we want to thank Gordon and Allie, all the folks with WLFI for all the help that you've given us during this. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, same time, Golden Black Live, Friday afternoon, next week at 2 o'clock. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you for more on Golden Black Live.